I know that you cannot live on hope alone, but without it, life is not worth living. And you've got to give them hope. Thank you very much.
Please welcome to the stage the Executive Director of Equality Utah, Troy Williams.
When I got my back up against the wall, don't need no one to rescue me.
Hey,
Science
what's
is
it?
not for no miracle.
hi. Oh, look at you. Oh my God. So beautiful. Oh, thank you so much. Good evening, friends. I am so deeply grateful for all of you being here. It's so beautiful to gather as friends and as family, a harbor of dreamers, voyagers, and builders. You chose to come tonight because, like the people around you, we all desire our world to be more fair and just, and maybe a little more sane, right? Yes, we can all see dark clouds on the horizon, but my friends, we have been forged in stormy seas. The political violence and the heartache of the past month have tested the mettle of Utahns. People across the political spectrum have been targeted, striking fear and uncertainty among many. And we feel the sorrow and the grief for our nation, for those who are suffering, and for the massive democracy itself, weathered, cracked, and straining against the wind. And though Utah is a landlocked state, we were shaped by an ancient inland sea. There is salt in our sweat and grit in our bones, and a stubborn belief that we can rise higher. And whenever I feel lost, I always look to my elders. So now, more than 20 years ago, when I was a baby activist, I got my start producing Radioactive on KRCL. Thank you. And back in 2004, during the height of the Iraq War, I was sent to Georgia to cover a large peace rally. And there I met two people who would profoundly influence my life. Amy Ray of the Indigo Girls, and a sage troubadour named Utah Phillips. Now, many of you know Amy, but Utah Phillips was a radical peacemaker. He was an anarchist, a Christian pacifist, a train-hopping folk singer, and a former Salt Laker who sang the stories of the working people who built this nation. And over dinner, I asked him with all the earnestness of a young activist, Mr. Phillips, have you ever known the world to be in a worse place? And he looked at me and he laughed kindly and he said, oh, son, it's been much, much worse. Our country is a work in progress. We are a ship that is being built. And through every hard time and every ordeal, there have always been people preparing our ship to sail. And then he leaned closer. Troy, some are rigging the masts, and others nailing down the planks, others sewing the sails. You have a responsibility to build our ship too. And even though there are some of us who may never live to see her set sail, we're going to build her anyway. Yeah. And then Utah spent the evening with me unfolding the story of America, not a tale of perfection, but of persistence. And he reminded me that our founders fought a revolution to end the reign of kings and dared to declare that all men are created equal. Of course, in 1776, we know that all men didn't include everyone. But those words lit a fire that burned in the hearts of abolitionists and suffragettes alike. Utah Phillips told me of Frederick Douglass, the great orator who thundered, "Knowledge makes a man unfit to be a slave," of Sojourner Truth, who declared, "Ain't I a woman," and advocated for women's rights of all races, of Abraham Lincoln, who warned a house divided against itself cannot stand, and he fought to hold our nation together, of Mother Jones, who said, "Fight for the living," and marched the mill children from Pennsylvania to New York to demand an end to child labor, of Cesar Chavez, who shouted, "Si se puede," and toiled for the dignity of American farm workers, of Dr. King, who proclaimed, "I have a dream," and organized the March for Jobs and Freedom alongside his gay friend and ally, Bayard Rustin. And Bayard called forth from every community a group of angelic troublemakers. And of course, we talked of Harvey Milk, who taught us you gotta give them hope. And he called us out of the closets and into elected office. Oh, and while we're on the topic of Harvey, you may have heard and read about a couple trolling tweets from a legislator in Davis County, but I vow to you, along with the people of Salt Lake City and our local elected officials, that Harvey Milk Boulevard is not going anywhere. Utah Phillips told me that America's builders aren't only the ones with statues, songs, and street names. They're more often the quiet, unheralded people who hammer, sew, and toil without praise, building something better, plank by plank, and their numbers are legion. Utah told me that anyone who sails understands the need to continually check our compass and constantly correct our course. And my friends, the great ship of America is off course. The hull is battered, the deckhands are fighting, and the captain seems quite mad. With such a daily barrage of horrible news, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. It's sometimes hard to know where to focus, but I believe our focus must be on strengthening the bonds that we have with each other and working together to preserve our highest values. We must continue to fight for the equal protection of all Americans in all areas governed by state and federal law. And we must demand due process so that no American is denied liberty or justice. And we must safeguard freedom in all of its forms: freedom of speech, the free press, academic freedom, the freedom of religion, free and fair elections, and the freedom to marry for every American. My friends, if we can hold these things, we can hold our nation together. Because I believe at the very core, what is at stake is the survival of American pluralism, the ability of people with diverse worldviews and backgrounds to live together in peace. Which brings me to the topic of flags. Our nation has always been a work in progress. The founders' call to build a more perfect union is ongoing. We know our country has an imperfect history. Too many have been denied rights and liberties. Too many excluded and pushed aside. But still, there is only one flag to which I pledge my allegiance. These stars and stripes have inspired angelic troublemakers throughout history to rise up, challenge injustice, right wrongs, and demand equality for every American. And our ancestors' expectation of us today is to continue the work of liberation. We're not done. until we have fulfilled the promise of liberty and justice for all people. Our nation's motto is E pluribus unum, out of many one. And as such, expressions of community symbols are not an either or, but a both and. Utah, we can pledge allegiance to Old Glory and also enjoy the freedom to proudly hoist the symbols of Utah's beautiful, dynamic, and eclectic communities. So, let me pay tribute to some angelic troublemakers here tonight, because when folks on Capitol Hill tried to deny our freedom of expression, Mayor Aaron Mendenhall and the Salt Lake City Council stood by us and proudly adopted the pride flag and others as our official city flags. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And every June, our flag flies along the stars of and stripes to remind everyone that LGBT people are all Utahns and we are all Americans. So, yes, there are dangers ahead, but we can meet this moment. At Equality Utah, our compass is set. We will continue to train, empower, and strengthen the next generation of LGBT leaders. And we will raise funds and knock doors to elect dynamic and courageous pro-equality candidates all across the state. And every day of the legislative session, every single day in January, February, and March, Equality Utah will be on Capitol Hill, not just talking to those who love us, but reaching out and proactively engaging those who don't yet. So, to close, I know that it is our connections to each other that anchor us in turbulent times. So if you grow fearful, remember the voyagers who came before, the wise ancestors who built our great nation and who still whisper to us and whisper to our souls to remind us that we have weathered storms before. And in the darkest, harshest depths is where we discover our strength and our power. So rise, rise, rise again, stronger than before. So, I can't do this without you. Our team can't do this without you. So please keep building the ships with us. Your donations raise funds, and they also raise hope to ensure that no tempest or storm will ever pull us from our course. So thank you for your generosity. Our ship's going to sail. Thank you, thank you, thank you.